When we get the chance, can you break down the buyers list, like how to interpret that, and
Okay.
just to make sure that I understand how to deduct from which model and locked versus unlocked. And I had just some things I think was throwing me off in certain areas. And I don't think I got the second back because you're sending that weekly. I think
So no. It's not sent weekly. It just updates. So every time. So this is a. It's a
Google,
Google.
I got you. I
Yep.
got you.
This is
Okay.
Google Sheets, which
Okay.
means when we update it, which
Mm-hmm.
there will be it updates when the market updates.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is you're going to see that you are going to have to take a deep dive into pricing to see the updates because there's so many various models and
Mm-hmm.
variations, right? But let's actually break that down real quick for you because so you have the price list, correct?
Yes, I just gotta
Right.
go back to the email and pull it up. But yeah, I got it.
All right, perfect. So the price list is very simple,
Mm-hmm.
but it could be very confusing when you first get into it because it's something new.
Mm-hmm.
Now, also, what I tell people is the difference between this price list and a lot of other price lists is this price list is not geared towards trying to um, create an illusion that tricks you into selling to any of the buyers. So understand this: I pay buyers to be a part of this price list. There's not always the same 50. Sometimes there are rotations and rotation buyers that we integrate into the price list because a lot of buyers, what they'll do is they'll want to be a part of the price list, they'll get their bread, and then they'll just skate off because what ends up happening is they're competing with their competitors directly with pricing. So as a buyer, a phone flipping buyer, you're sort of kind of being risky with this because you're showing your hand. Now you see one price on this price list, but it doesn't show you all 50 of the price list that we have um integrated into this pricing basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a benefit for some, and some they like, hey Brandon, I want 50 price lists, but that would be just very it wouldn't work. They're not all going to be willing to do that.
Yeah.
So the way that we work is the price list is whenever you see a price on this price list, understand that this is a starting bidding price. So the way I like to break it down is, let's say there is a auction, right? I used to deal with a guy that did storage auctions. So you start at a price and then it only goes higher, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But sometimes people looking at storage unit and they'll say, this ain't worth shit. So whatever price the person says first, they'll just say, I'll take it, and then nobody says anything. Right. So right now we have an iPhone 16 Pro Max 256 for sealed, non-activated, $890. That $890 would be the starting price. What would happen is you would say, hey, I have this iPhone 16 Pro Max 256. The IMEI is blah blah blah. It is sealed, non-activated. Here, boom, you email it to us. We take that email, we forward that email to a master email that goes to all 50 of the buyers. What they do is they then shoot back prices. Now they can all see in the email, they can all see the prices that are being, shot out. And one person might say 900, another person might say 950. Then you'll probably have somebody that say, all right, listen, everybody, I need this phone. I had a customer interaction in the store and I need to replace this iPhone. I'm gonna buy it for 900. We'll say, okay, 900 is good. We'll email you back and say, hey, we have an offer for 900. Is it to go? Right? You'll say yes or no. If you say yes, then we let the buyer know, okay, seller has accepted, and then you are shipping the device to the address that we email you, so it can get directly sent to the buyer. Buyer then is cashing you out via Zelle or Cash App. And then that's how the deals work. They are also going to, if you have multiple phones, giving you it's like a price list that looks like this, basically, how much they're going to pay you per device.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how that works as far as with the pricing aspect. Now, when it comes to the price list, when we're talking about conditions, right? Sealed non-activated means a device that is sealed and is not rung up by a carrier, you're rarely ever going to have a sealed non-activated device these days.
Right.
Back in the day, you would have people that, and I tell people, I keep it 100. These are people that they'll go into a store, they'll grab the phone, they'll just leave, and then they'll sell it. That sort of kind of where you have a non-activated, because nowadays what they've done to avoid phone flippers buying phones that aren't activated is when they put the phones into inventory, they're automatically go into an active status. Then you have activated, which is going to be self-explanatory, a device that is not sealed, right, and activated. So AT&T, T-Mobile, if it has the white paper on the phone, but the box is open, it's in the activated tab. And then you have no box, headset only. That is going to be a device that has no box, but it is new. It's brand new. So sometimes you'll run across these with insurance claims, or you'll just have somebody oddly that doesn't have the box. But that's what the no box HSO is. Okay. Any questions so far?
No, I'm following you.
All right, cool. So then when you come over to this section right here, you'll have like some deductions. Now, mind you, if it has a scratch, it's a -20. If it's over, so this is a very important, okay? Very, very important. If the phone is under, so how do I put this so you can explain it? So I can explain it the correct way. If the phone is older than 30 days, it is not new. Okay?
Okay.
That's important. If the phone is over 30 days, it's not new. Because what people do is they'll get a phone, they'll put YouTube on, and then they'll play that thing all month. Right. And then they do that because on like the last week of the month, they'll do an insurance claim. They'll say, oh, I lost my phone or I broke my phone. And then they'll try and get more phones without having to actually pay, basically. These type of individuals do that and then try to sell that phone as new. But it's not new because you had it for so long. Right. So that's important. Next is if there's no white paper on that phone, that's a -20. If there's no charger in the box, it's a -10. All right. Now you'll also see flex equals locked, right? So flex equals locked. That is a flex phone. Flex phones are phones that are going to be brought at kiosks. So Sam's Club, Costco, those type of places. Those are flex phones. Walmart. When you get a phone there, it's not a phone that's from a carrier's possession. It's a flex phone. Okay. And yeah, so and then you got Cricket and you got Visible, like all these other little platforms, depending on what they have here. So Cricket obviously is a -80 when it comes to a lock device. And the reason why Cricket is so low is because Cricket is it's like a prepaid in overseas eyes. Okay. Now we go over to the used iPhone tab, and this is more intricate because you have to make sure that you understand the grade model very in depth. Now it's not as complicated as some may make it. It's actually quite simple once you get the hang of it. First thing I'll tell you is you'll probably always buy B grade. B grade is all I buy. I've tried when I first got into priceless. I tried to I tried to buy B plus. The problem was I would say this is B plus, and then when a buyer that wants to buy it, buying it, they're telling me, "Bro, this is not B plus. It has a scratch right here in this corner," and I'm like, "Bro, that's not a scratch, bro." Like, and then I lose my break. I lose out on money. So that's why I tell people always make sure you're looking at B grade and just stick with that. But A plus grade is going to be a phone that has no damage, no show of wear and tear, but it's in the box. Important. It comes with the box. So if you see me on YouTube and I'm always asking people, does it come with a box or not? Or I'm asking those discovery questions, it's because I'm trying to discover what type of grade that I'm going to put this device in so that I understand what type of pricing, okay, which we're going to get into in a second. B plus is going to be a phone that's like new, but doesn't have a box. B grade is going to be a phone that has some scratches, some scuffs, no dents, obviously, no cracks. Now, the difference between a scratch and a crack is a crack, you can run your thumb
Yeah.
over, you know, a crack, and if it goes in, and it's definitely a crack. But if it doesn't go in, it's a scratch. So it's a phone, a normal wear and tear device. Now, a C grade is going to be something that's cracked rather than the front or the back and has dents. A D, I don't really put the pricing because I would never recommend anybody to buy that because it's just a damaged phone that is not worth nothing. But it's there because maybe somebody may have a good price point, and I might say, all right, let's put it. But I haven't seen a really good price point recently. All right, so let's go. And then you have Samsung's iCloud. You got iPads, Apple accessories. Here's where you can see Apple tags and home pods and all this other stuff. Apple watches and MacBooks. These are like different things you can buy, and you have that access to buy. I would recommend just sticking with phones first. Next, Apple iPads, and then I would say MacBooks are one of the last that I tell people to flip. MacBooks are so profitable, but very hard because they cost a lot of bread to flip, but they make money. And I'm talking about with consumers, I'm talking about with buyers. But again, it's so hard to buy them and trust that person because it could be something internal and you don't even know. Yeah, so that's why I don't really ever talk about MacBooks. iPads are really good, but only new. Don't ever buy a used iPad. You're going to lose out on your money. People don't buy iPads used really unless it's in November and December. People don't even use iPads. iPads are impulse buys, which are buys that you basically, you know, have just because you want to get something. Apple Watches, I would never buy because Apple Watches, they are now, before when I first started phone flipping, they were really, really risky to buy. Now it's just like anybody can get an Apple Watch. You go to AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon and get an account. They give you one for free. So we don't really deal with those. Now let's talk about pricing. So pricing is very, very, very easy once you get the hang of it, but very confusing if you overthink it, right? Like this isn't rocket science, but this is definitely something that you want to master. If you're somebody that is business oriented, you'll understand it easily, right? So when it comes to price points and being able to price these, the best way that I can say is literally by understanding it's not about your feelings. It's not about what you think a device is worth. It's not about any of that. And that's why I have this, because sometimes I may think an iPhone 16 is worth $600, but in reality, if the market says it's not, it's not. All of these prices are changing. Some of them stay the same. They're based upon what phones are being given out for free during promotion. It's based upon what type of promotions people are getting, how many people are walking out with phones, Apple's new upcoming phone. All of these prices are based on so many different factors. So if we look at the iPhone 15 Pro unlocked, which is going to be right here, right? I see A+ grade 430, B+ grade 390, B grade 370. Now, I know for a fact that all I want to gauge my pricing off of, even if this person is saying is A grade, is awesome, it looks really nice. I don't, I don't really care. If it looks nice and I'm feeling good, I'll probably throw them a couple more dollars, but I gotta see that phone for me to believe it. I don't believe anything online. Okay. So, because if I say I'm gonna pay you something, the businessman that I am, I understand that when I say something, it has to stick. I gotta honor my word, because the one time I don't honor my word, now my brand is now diminished. So it's important to honor your word. So if I make a deal, I gotta stick with it. So 370 is that market value. So I know the phone right now is worth $370 starting. Remember that buyers can bid up. But I tell people don't assume that a buyer is bid up. Okay. So 370. I know for a fact I can get 370 for the iPhone 15 Pro unlocked. Great. If we go online right now in my area, right? Watch this. iPhone 15 Pro. People are listing. Let's see. Let's make sure this isn't a Pro Max. It's probably a Pro Max. Let me see. Yeah, it's a Pro Max. Let's see if we can find a Pro. 15 Pro. 15 Pro 450. Okay.
Yeah.
Why is this 15 Pro 450? I'm gonna tell you why. Because whoever this is, if you look at the picture, it looks like they're at an Apple store or they're at a T-Mobile or something, because there's an Apple little keyboard here. It looks like a display or something right here. But they're probably a wholesale seller, which is a person that gets phones on an everyday basis. They have buyers already. They list them. They list phones on OfferUp just to see if they can get $20 higher or $10 higher than what their buyer's offering. Now, 450 sounds really, really good. And also it sounds very similar to what this price is. So I already know that this person, if I click on their profile, they're either not going to have anything or they're going to have some other type of electronic, which is this. So this is obviously somebody that probably gets stuff and resells it. But what you'll be able to tell is that a lot of the pricing is going to be very, very similar to a lot of people, or it will be very, very low when it comes to people in your area. And that's how you could tell if you're dealing with people that resell on an everyday basis, or if you're dealing with people that are consumers and have a consumer mindset and only go off their emotions. So the reason I'm telling you that is because when you see 370, you're gonna run into people that's like, what? Why would I ever sell that phone for that low, bro? Like, and see, sometimes it discourages people, and they're like, damn, I'm really fucking up because I should be offering higher. But you never want to think that way, because you got to understand that the market is king. It tells you, right? So now, since I know it's worth 370, I can subtract whatever I want my profit margin to be. Now, this is where we get into how much money do you want to make? Right. Now, when I first start off, right, let's hypothetically say, let's do, we're going to stick with 370. And you said you had $5,000. So let's say 5,000 divided by 370. That means you could buy 13 of these iPhone 15 Pros, right? So if you brought 13 of the iPhone 15 Pros and you only made $50 profit, you would have made $650 off of 5,000. That's not a good profit margin, because the risk that you put out of the 5,000 is not worth you just making 650. Right. Hence why I told you to start off low. But the reason I just brought that up was because when you're thinking about how much money you want to make, you also got to think, how much profit on return do I want to make with these risks that I'm coming out with? When you first start out, you don't want to have a huge profit margin, because there's more. The more you make, the more objections you can be thrown. If you don't know how to override those objections, you can lose deals quickly. So I would say start out with like a $50 profit margin for right now, especially if you're working with a budget between $500 and $900, right? So if we are at the 370 mark, I would just add $50 profit. Now, the reason I add that is so I know what my ceiling is. So just like I told you, when I first started flipping phones, I hit a ceiling, and it's like, damn, I can't make no more, like, because I'm only one person. I only can meet 5 people in a day. And, you know, that becomes tiring. My gas is being spent. I'm doing a lot to meet these 5 people. Same thing when it comes to pricing. Is you want to know what your ceiling is and how much you will not negotiate under. Right. I will not go under 420. In no way, no capacity, right?